Hello and welcome back to another episode of Sig Daddy's Wrestling Show. I'm your host, Skylar Sig Daddy Sigmund, ready for another WrestleMania review, retro WrestleMania review. That is, I hope you all enjoyed Jo and I's WrestleMania 17 review from the previous episode. Had a lot of fun doing that. Before I talk about my guest here, I wanted to address the elephant in the room. The WrestleMania 22 review that was supposed to drop last week. Well, that's going to be later due to I had a stomach bug last week, and that caused things to get shifted around. And but that episode will be coming soon here on Sig Daddy's Wrestling Show, and hopefully that'll be dropping next week. But let's get into my guest. I'm joined today by Kyle from the Apron Bump Podcast. And we're going to be doing a WrestleMania 28 review. Kyle, how are you doing, man?
Oh, Sky Daddy. I'm great. I was going to call you Sky Guy, but I could remember. I didn't know if I would call you Sky Guy or Sig Daddy, so I mixed them.
Hey, my parents called me Sig. My parents called me Sky Guy when I was little. So. Oh
yeah. Well, there you go. I figured.
Yeah, you guessed. Good guess.
My name's Kyle. I got a lot of Kai guys in my day, so. I can sympathize with you.
Yes, it just hurts. It just hurts getting those nicknames, but
it does.
I've had a lot worse. There's a lot
of worse things to be called. So
yes. But thanks again for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. Well, this is not the only time we'll be collabing, but we'll be we'll be working together next month when I come over onto your show, the Apron Bump Podcast, to talk about some 2003 Ring of Honor shows. Expect the unexpected. And Ring of Honor Night of the Champions. Looking forward to that because I'm not super familiar with 2003 Ring of Honor, but I was looking at like some of the cards for those, and boy, do they have some future stars on them.
Dude, yeah. I mean, I'm going through it sequentially for the first time myself, so we're going to be watching it the first time together. So, but yeah, just looking at the cards, you could tell they're going to be bangers of shows. So, looking forward to it for sure.
Hyped up for that, but we're hyped up for this as well. WrestleMania 28. The tagline was once in a lifetime. We were hoping that it would be once in a lifetime, but you never know in WWE. Well, in WWE, nothing's ever just once. It's always multiple times. And this one took place at Sun Life Stadium in Miami, Florida. 78,363 apparently in attendance, because you know how WWE does
allegedly.
Allegedly, they pack the building and completely. Well, this one, I'm pretty sure they did pack the entire stadium for this one. It did a 1.2 million buy rate, which turned out to be the most purchased wrestling event in history, and that surpassed WrestleMania 23, which that show in and of itself is fantastic as well.
I guess that means Maria Menounos was a draw.
I know, Maria. You got to get those celebrities in there. You got to get those celebrities. And just like WWE does now, they get all those celebrities in for this year. They got to do triple the celebrities.
Yeah.
We got Logan Paul. We got Johnny Knoxville. And Pat McAfee all on the same WrestleMania.
Something tells me those matches will be better than the celebrity match on this card, but I suppose we'll get into that later.
Oh, yeah, we'll definitely get into that later. Well, anything Pat McAfee does in the ring is usually pretty good.
Yeah, the more Pat McAfee, the better, as far as I'm concerned.
He delivered a low-key banger with Adam Cole at that NXT TakeOver back a couple of years ago. Fantastic. Definitely recommend checking that out. We get this thing kicked off with Lillian Garcia singing America the Beautiful. And then I got to say, this WrestleMania set, underrated.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, like, for a while, like, at least to me, like the sets kind of blend together a little bit, like the late 20s and like the early 30s, because it's like eventually it's always stadiums, and to me it's like more like the stadium rather than the set. But yeah, I was a big fan of the set for sure.
And the cool thing about this set was you could actually have fans behind the set.
Yeah, I'm wondering how like the visibility was behind it, but I guess it's cool. Yeah,
it's still pretty neat. Cole and Lawler on commentary. There's 8 matches on the main card here. Cole and Lawler on commentary. This was during the little bit of an insufferable time on commentary with these guys.
You don't like heel Michael Cole?
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely. At least he didn't have a match on this one. That was,
dude.
Jack Swagger in his corner.
And they alluded to that later in the show. Which is funny.
Gosh. And then the video package, we get a video package highlighting The Rock and John Cena's journey to this evening. And then they also highlight Triple H and Undertaker's career in WWE. And this video package is very well done as expected, like WWE usually does. But this kind of was a sign of things to come for the night, because really this was pretty much a 3-match card.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was about to say that the video package would lead you to believe that there's only 2 matches on the card, which in reality it kind of was. But yeah, I mean, those 2 matches delivered, that's for sure. Actually, there was a 3rd match that delivered more than I thought it would. I guess maybe that's probably what you're referring to. But yeah.
And we'll kick things off with not one of those matches, of course. The World Heavyweight Championship match, Sheamus versus Daniel Bryan with AJ Lee in his corner. So Bryan, coming into this, has held the World Championship, Heavyweight Championship, since cashing in Money in the Bank on the Big Show at TLC in 2011, if I'm correct. And then Sheamus, he won the 2012 Royal Rumble. And I think Sheamus comes out first here. And he's supposed to be the babyface in this situation. I don't think he really is, because it seemed like by the fan reaction, it wasn't. Yeah,
the yes chants were in full. Actually, I think, if I remember correctly, this is kind of the birth of the yes chants. I mean, it's not the first time he's done yes, 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 but it's like the first time it was like a thing. Like there were signs in the crowd, and like commentary was noting it. So it's kind of the birth of the yes movement, I suppose, here. Which is
the early portions of it. And the funny thing about this match, this happened on the pre-show the year before.
Yes.
And it ended up I think it ended up in a no contest. It was a U.S. title match. Ended up in a no contest, and it led to a battle royal in which I think the Great Khali won.
Of course he did.
Great Khali's got to win the battle royal. We can't.
Yeah, you go.
Got to keep him strong. The Punjabi Playboy.
Oh yeah, he's running wild. Love that Khali.
Khali mania.
Man, his pants look very comfortable though. I hope they sell them somewhere.
Yes, I hope so too. We get the bell ringing, but AJ Lee gets called up to the ring apron. Bryan and the Lee share a kiss, and then Bryan turns around like an idiot and eats a brogue kick, loses the world title just like that, 18 seconds. And this...
well, he's dead and buried, I guess. There's no recovering this Daniel Bryan fella. He's just ship him off to OVW or whatever.
As like the internet would say, he's buried, just completely buried by just, what are they doing? It's like the Kofi Kingston. This is Kofi Kingston, Brock Lesnar before that.
Yeah. Well, Kofi and Brock, they never really capitalized on it, I guess. But here in this instance, Extreme Rules, these two would have a rematch. It's like low key one of my favorite matches from either guy. It was a 2 out of 3 falls match. If you or anybody listening haven't watched that match in a while or ever, I would suggest you check that out, because that's a great match.
I've never watched that one. I definitely need to go and find that one. So it's hard to grade this match because you can't really grade it.
Right.
But I gave it a C. While this is one of the moments that ultimately led to Bryan's ascension into being the biggest babyface in the company, and one of the biggest they'd seen in quite a while, this was absolutely crapped on by the internet, and understandably so, because these two were capable of much more than what they were given here.
Yeah, and they would eventually show that. Yeah, it's tough to I guess if you're just looking at it in a vacuum, I mean, a D or whatever. But when you think about the context of, like you said, where Daniel Bryan would eventually elevate to, plus how this kind of led into a rematch after this. Plus, I mean, say what you want, this is a very memorable moment from in WrestleMania history, which you can't say that about a lot of things on this show. So with all that in mind, it wasn't the worst thing in the world. So yeah, I'm with you. I'd give it a C.
Yeah, it's just disappointing. That's all it really is. But looking back at hindsight, it's actually a good thing, which led to an even better thing 2 years later at WrestleMania 30.
I missed it.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just want to shout out this theme song by Sheamus, or not by Sheamus. The Sheamus's theme song here. I'm a big fan of it.
Oh yeah, I wish he would have brought it back. That's the one. I wish that's one theme song that I'm like, That was his original theme, I'm pretty sure, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, it was. Lobster heads.
Lobster heads. Okay. I didn't even know that was. Oh my gosh! I didn't even realize that was the. That's a lyric. That's a. Is that a? Oh,
no, it's like a. It was like a running meme back in the day. It was like, it's a shame. Fuck, I don't remember. Someone's gonna correct me. Yeah, lobster heads. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's not what they're saying.
Oh my god!
In my head, it is.
I would think that you know what, that wouldn't surprise me. But after that, we get Team Johnny, Ziggler, McIntyre, Mark Henry. What a mismatch of people here. Miz, Jack Swagger, Vicky Guerrero, and Brie Bella. A couple of these people work for AEW now.
Yeah. I mean, this show in general is a lot of AEW presence.
I noticed that in WrestleMania 17.
Yeah.
Because the opener in that one's Regal Jericho.
Mm-hmm. And then, a couple other guys. Yeah. And again, this show, we have Bryan Danielson opening up. We got the Intercontinental title match and
coming up
ton
here.
Of stuff. Yeah.
But they're getting ready for their match. Miz rallies them, cannot lose. We will win tonight, just like he won the main event last year. Miz did. Can't believe that was actually a thing at one point. Yeah. That was in one of the worst main events ever. I'll say that. Mm-hmm. That's probably Hogan Sid level bad. David Otunga then introduces Johnny Ace, who shows up in a white suit with a red tie. And gosh, this was also this is the beginnings of an unbearable part of Raw again, with Johnny Ace as the leader. And he ends up getting a main event during this year too.
Yeah, against John Cena, right? And we get Big Show's 28,000th heel turn on that card.
Oh my gosh.
What a time.
Yep. And now Johnny Ace is going to become the GM of Raw and SmackDown here tonight. After that, though, we get Kane versus Randy Orton. You don't even remember this actually happening.
I vaguely remember it happening. I don't remember anything about like the storyline leading up to it, the match itself, who won. I didn't remember any of that. I remember it existed, but this was pretty much just watching it for the first time for me.
Yeah, and like watching and going back and watching this, I was like, these guys do not fit together well at all.
Yeah, I'll say this, it's better than I thought it would be.
Yes, I'll say that.
Yeah.
It did get boring chance at one point.
Yeah, it took a little bit to kick in. But it's funny, the commentary is like, oh, fans are still filing in. And it's like, oh, I guess they missed the world title match.
Yeah, they missed the first world title match. 18 seconds of it. Woo!
Yeah.
Kane does do some exciting stuff early on in this match. He works a chin lock about 3 times during this.
Love a good chin lock.
Just a great chin lock. Eventually, after the multiple chin locks by Kane, Orton fights out, hits a swinging neck breaker for a near fall. It's very slow paced.
Mm-hmm.
And as I said, eventually Orton gets suplexed by Kane, long 2 count. And then, it's the third. This is the third rear chin lock. Orton gets
Which chin lock was your favorite?
I don't know. It was the first one, I think.
Yeah, you really had
the first one's always the best one. First one's always the best one. The sequel and the third, by the third one, it's Godfather 3. It's horrible.
Chinlock Volume 3.
Chinlock featuring Kane. Eventually, Orton gets out. Orton does his clotheslines and hits his signature power slam. Kane gets thrown in the corner. Orton hits the draping DDT. And Cole pisses me off beyond belief here. He calls it a freaking bulldog.
Oh, did he? I didn't even catch that.
Yeah, he was calling it. He kept early on. He was, he's going for the bulldog. I'm like, this is not a bulldog, you dumbass. Call it a DDT.
What an ass.
You've been calling this for how long?
He literally does it every match, Cole.
He does it every single match, and you can't get a freaking DDT call.
I'll go as far to say Randy Orton, I don't think he's ever done a bulldog in his life. I guess the RKO is kind of like a version of a bulldog, I guess.
It's a cut. RKO is just a cutter.
It's an inverted bulldog.
Okay, there's on technicalities here. All right,
I'll pull up the whiteboard. We'll figure it out.
We'll do Goodwill Hunting.
Yes.
The math, get the math problem up, and then we'll turn it. It's like, okay, inverted bulldog, Randy Orton.
We'll figure this out.
All right, but eventually Orton sees Kane laying down, goes for the pin after a drop kick. by Orton off a midair clothesline attempt.
That was pretty cool.
That was a good spot. That was one of the best, most memorable spots of the match.
Very smooth.
Yep. And then Orton, as he sees Kane laying down, he's like, okay, should I go for the RKO? No, I'm going to try to punt this dude's head off. And because we're in the PG era and punting's good. Kane then catches him and hits him with the choke slam after Orton charges. Left and right's in the corner. Orton fights back, goes for another RKO. He's missed the RKO twice at this point. Orton then drop kicks a charging Kane's knee. Orton charges back. Elbow to Orton. Kane sits up top. Orton hitting Kane with some big shots. Punches. Goes to the second rope. I don't know what he was thinking. He's maybe thinking RKO or superplex. Kane then goozles him. Choke slams him off the top rope for the finish. 3 count and the win at 10 minutes and 58 seconds. Your thoughts?
Yeah, like I said, I mean, it was, it's not like a barn burner, and it's a pretty forgettable match, but it's better than I expected it would be. Towards the end, it got pretty fun. The crowd was into it. The finish with the second rope choke slam was fun. That's not really something I expected. But yeah, it was fun. I'm not a big fan of welder mask Kane.
Yes, me either.
But,
he was coming off the series of matches with John Cena.
Yeah.
That one of them being an ambulance match. That main evented Elimination Chamber.
Yeah, that was a weird this is before corporate Kane, right?
Yes, this is a couple of years before that.
Right. Yeah. This is at least better than that. But outside of that, yeah, I mean, they've jumped the shark, as they say with Kane here, I think.
Yeah, and I gave it a C+. Like you said, it's not the most exciting thing, but as it got to the crescendo in the finish, I thought it really did get the fans going, and the second rope choke slam was a good thing to cap things off.
Yeah, I gave it a B- just because there's sometimes watching a methodical match with two veterans can be interesting, at least to watch. And I think they kicked it in a fun gear towards the end. So I gave it a B- to be generous.
Hey, that's fair. Very fair. Then we get Santino sitting backstage with some guy from Deadliest Catch. This is one of those WWE crossover segments that are they good at that? Because I have not found one.
Is this the best that they could have done for WrestleMania's a guy from Deadliest Catch?
That nobody knows.
I still don't know his name. They don't even know if they said it.
I was sitting there, I'm like, what?
I watched it yesterday.
I was sitting there, I'm like, what's this segment?
This is legitimately might be the worst segment I've ever watched in wrestling. This is terrible.
I had no idea what was going on. I didn't understand it. Santino makes the best of his situations most of the time, always, but they plug. It's pretty much a plug for Deadliest Catch. There's King Crab sitting there, probably fake ones at least. He asks if they know how to get the meat out of the crab legs. Mick Foley's in there too as well. They all go crazy, and Ron Simmons just does his one thing and goes, "Damn!" Which
saved it, I think.
Yes, Ron Simmons always doing the damn saves it.
Yes.
I remember him walking around it was probably 2007 through this time pretty much. He's you'll just see Ron Simmons pop up randomly backstage every once in a while. Just damn, that's it.
Are we going to talk about how they attempted to get the meat out of the crabs?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it was they had to pull out. So Santino pulled out the Cobra, and he just I think he jabbed it like a bird would. And Mick pulled out Sacco, and I don't know what he was doing with it. And then this other guy just drops an elbow on the crab and just breaks it up. And then it's just crab flying everywhere, or whatever imitation crab. Just
Pollock flying everywhere. It was just madness.
It was awful.
You could tell Mick Foley as he was doing it, he was like, "This stinks."
Mick, you gotta love Mick, because he's one of the probably few wrestlers these days that is completely honest about everything. Even though he is one of WWE's probably best, whatever. It's kind of projects in a way, because I don't know about projects, but he was one of their biggest superstars probably during the Attitude Era. For sure. Yeah. But he doesn't shy away from criticism. That's one thing for sure.
I'm wondering if he's talked about this since. I mean, it's been, by the way, mention that this is 2012, right? The show.
Yeah.
This shit's 10 years old. That's crazy.
That's why I was like, I feel freaking old. I'm watching this. I'm like, this is 10 years ago. Oh my gosh. It's like, I think I was a sophomore in high school at this point.
Yeah, I was a freshman in college. I remember watching this like on my laptop in my dorm. That makes me feel old. That 10 years ago was college, but we won't talk about that.
We don't talk about that. We don't want to talk about our age because it just makes it worse and worse as we're in 2022 getting ready to see Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar for the third time.
Yeah.
But now speaking of we talked about AEW earlier.
Whoa! The only smoke and mirrors.
Whoa! Cody Rhodes.
I think that's the John Cena clip.
Yes,
I watched that 100 times over and over again.
It's such a good. I think I just like found it like a couple months ago. I'm like, where has this been? I've needed this my whole entire life.
That's so good. Whoa, it doesn't even sound like
Cody Rhodes. God. It was Cody Rhodes, who may be appearing at WrestleMania. It's definitely if WWE doesn't pull the trigger on this, there are going to be a lot of upset people.
Oh man.
I doubt they don't do it because it's like, okay, you hear the fans, you know what's going to happen pretty much. Rollins teasing it. They did so many teases on it for, on Raw. Like they did it week Kevin Owens beat him because there was like, oh, it's a nightmare, blah 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 blah, something.
My dreams are dashed.
Yeah. So I don't know. What's your feelings on it?
Yeah, I mean, if it happens, it happens. I just don't have a lot of faith that he'll be a big deal for a long time.
No, I don't either.
It'll be a crazy moment. I mean, the fact that he was the top guy. He was, for all intents and purposes, he was the John Cena of AEW, and now he's coming back to WWE allegedly. So if that happens, it's crazy.
I just don't have faith in them long term with him.
No, absolutely not. But I hope I'm wrong. Maybe Cody is a mole, like trying to get in WWE to ruin it from the inside.
I don't know.
What do we think about that?
Oh, that'd be interesting. Because there was an interview, not to get too far off topic, but there was an interview he did in 2020. He's like, I want to be EVP for life. Like, well, that changed pretty quickly.
Yeah, I can't wait till the full story of what happened comes out because
we'll
shit had to go down.
Yeah, we probably about 10 years in the future we'll find out what exactly happened there with Tony Khan and Cody Rhodes, which
the rise and fall of AEW.
The rise and fall of Cody Rhodes.
Douche.
American. Well, is he gonna go by the American Dream then? Comes into AEW. Oh my god. And WWE. I mean,
he's gonna be Stardust, man.
Stardust. Oh, star. Was it? What was the saying? It's a star that left them in the dust.
Oh. Yikes.
Oh my gosh. What if they just they walk in, it's like, here's the suit, put it back on, buddy.
We gotcha. Now you can't leave.
Because WWE does not have the best history with the Rhodeses.
No, I mean, Goldust was a great character. I mean, never really got above a certain level. And Stardust was fun too, but kind of same thing. So, and then we all know about Polka Dot Dusty Rhodes. So, yeah.
The one highlight I'll take from their run in WWE, Cody and Dustin's together, they had that Shield tag team match with Dusty in their corner. That was such a good match.
That's one of my favorite matches ever. That is such a good match.
It's like the emotion and everything involved with that, the stakes and all that. I just that's with Meltzer star ratings, it's like you take them with a grain of salt because it's like it's if it's not in the Tokyo Dome or in AEW, it's going to be not as good. They gave it 3.5 stars. I'm like, that's 4+ at least. Yeah, he gave it 3.5.
Yeah, that's one of those if you watched it on mute, maybe, but with how into the crowd was so into it, it was such so built. It was built so well. It's like you said, the emotion involved is really important, which I don't think Meltzer really takes into account what to see. I think he just looks at like how well you're doing the hammer locks.
Moves. It's all
how
moves.
many pile drivers did you do? Each one adds a half a star. Like, oh, damn it, Meltzer. Yeah.
But here we go. We'll finally get into the match. It's Cody Rhodes defending the Intercontinental title against no BS Paul White. The Big Show. It's automatic 5-star here for the Intercontinental Championship. The classic white belt design, personal favorite. It always looks good. The new Intercontinental title.
It's the worst. It looks like a toy.
Yes. I'd even like honestly, if they would go back to the belt they had from 2000 and 2000 to
like era one.
Yeah, 2000 to like 2008 or 9 or whatever they had it. Or actually, it was like 2012, 11 or 12. They had that belt. I would take that belt over this one.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Or any of them really.
Any belt other than this one, it just looks bad. But the lead up to this is Cody trying to embarrass Big Show. And Big Show, he doesn't have the greatest history at WrestleMania. Cody is called Big Show the biggest choke artist in WrestleMania history, as Michael Cole said it. I think Cole said his record was 3-8 at this point. And there was one on the video package. I gotta laugh because it's Big Show with a kid saying, "Woo, WrestleMania!"
WrestleMania 17, baby.
Oh, I think.
Wait, no, I'm sorry.
16,
it was 18. It was 18 because I just recently watched that, and it was funny. Like, wow, this is Big Show's involvement on this show.
I think they send him down at that point. I think they sent him down to OVW actually.
So they might have, but this was right after that is when he joined the NWO, and this is when he was like really fat, and then I think then they sent him down like to lose some weight or something. Then he came back and won the WWE title. So, which is incredible to think because that 2002 timeline of the WWE title is just insane. Yeah, I saw your tweet about it. I was like, man, because I'm kind of going through it on my podcast right now, and it's a weird time. It's definitely a weird time. 7 titles, 7 champions in 10 months. Wild to think there. But Cody playing the coward here. He cowers his way to the outside as soon as the bell rings. This is a shorter match. Big Show's dominant early. Eventually, Cody, he actually beals Cody across the ring. Always love seeing somebody get thrown that far. Keith Lee's was pretty good on Isaiah Cassidy. It was not, I don't know, it wasn't quite that level, but no, you can't beat that.
No, you cannot. But at one point, Big Show charges, misses. Cody with a drop kick. Another one brings Big Show to a knee. Big Show's getting his knee and leg attacked. Cody like DDTs the leg of Big Show at one point, stomping away at it. Eventually, Big Show fights his way out. This match is about 5 minutes long. Big Show with a couple clotheslines on the comeback. Cody with big boots in the corner, heads up top. Show goozles him. Cody then hangs him up top. Cody comes back in, hits the disaster kick, goes for another one. And then it was kind of an awkward looking spear because he almost looked like he speared Cody's nuts. Yeah, Big Show always had an awkward looking spear, but to couple that with the springboard counter, it looked fine. I guess it looked like it hurt. Yeah, it looked like it hurt. I'll give it that. One strap comes down, loads up for the big right hand, hits the weapon of mass destruction, knocks Cody out. 1, 2, 3, game over. At 5 minutes and 19 seconds, it was. I think it was an elongated squash, pretty much. Yeah, I mean, Cody did get some offense in the beginning, which I was kind of surprised. Did you bring up the stink face? Oh yes, I forgot to bring that up. He did do the stink face to Cody. We got multiple stink faces. It was the night of the stink face here this evening. We only got one here, but we got one in the Divas match later on. Actually, a double one. Yeah, this one was more of a stink head because he kind of just shoved Cody's head up his own ass. Which is, like, I'm not here to judge, but it's weird to see that in a wrestling match. At least it's not real. Well, it could have been Rikishi. Yeah, who would you rather get a stink face from, Rikishi or Big Show? I'd pick Rikishi. As long as I'm in good graces with Rikishi, because apparently if you weren't in the good graces with Rikishi, it would be bad. Because I think he'd powder his butt beforehand. Yes. If he liked you. Mm-hmm. Which it sounds like
Oh, I forget who said it. Somebody was like, "Oh, it was kind of a pleasant experience, actually." Might have been like Matt Hardy or somebody.
I think, yes, it was. I was on the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy. I listened to that. I think I heard him mention Rikishi. He's like, "Oh yeah, it was good. It was a pleasant experience. It wasn't bad." I'm like, "Well, okay. I wouldn't be afraid to take one then from Rikishi as long as I'm just not on his bad list."
Right.
But I gave this a B minus. Show gets his WrestleMania moment, winning the IC title. It just looks weird in retrospect. But I thought it had a nice little story. Limb work made sense with the smaller guy just trying to take out the limbs. But I gave it a B minus because I enjoyed it for what it was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, same here. B minus. It was short, but to the point. It did what it had to do. It didn't stay too long. Like you said, it had a simple story to it. It was fun. Crowd was into it. It was just fun to see Cody in WWE. It kind of made me eager to see him back and see what that would be like.
Well, yeah, will he be in trunks or tights?
Probably tights. He's probably gonna look exactly the same, if I had to guess.
Yeah, I think he'll stick with the tights because I don't know. I just don't like trunks Cody.
Yeah, he doesn't have the legs for it.
No, he doesn't have the Randy Orton legs.
Oh, those big juicy legs. Yeah,
big juicy thighs.
Those hamstrings just bulging out of there.
Oh my gosh.
Fluffing us up for this next match.
Vince fluffing us up. Yeah, the Divas match coming up.
Puppies.
Oh, at least not JR, but Waller didn't bring that out for this one. Oh, yeah. Surprised he didn't.
Right on the brink of it.
Yep, Kelly and celebrity guest Maria Menounos versus Beth Phoenix and Eve Torres. This was an interesting choice for a celebrity in a tag match, to say the least, because we get a video package highlighting the Divas, and I can tell you one thing: I do not miss this era one bit. I know this was necessary to get where we are now, but I really don't miss it. I got to point out something here too.
Yeah,
we saw EC3 in the video package.
Yes, Derek Bateman.
Old Derek Bateman. Now he's controlling his narrative.
Is he though?
I don't know what at first I was on board. Okay, at first I was on board at the beginning when he was doing that in like Impact.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, this is interesting. But now it's just gone completely off the rails. It's weird. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah. It's I can't say I'm a big CYN fan. Don't have my season tickets to see their shows. But,
I definitely want to go in that room with Austin Aries, of course.
Well, hey, you know what? You know what it does? It consolidates all the shitty people in wrestling and puts them in one place. So keeps them away from.
It's so funny how Adam Scherr was the one that crapped on independent wrestlers.
Yeah.
And now he's an independent wrestler pretty much.
Well, he's controlling his narrative, Skyler.
With the nipple ring. He has the singular nipple ring. He doesn't have both. He has one nipple ring.
No, he's not, he's a man.
He's a man. He's a man. Just a man. Oh man. He's a real.
There's no William Regal on this card.
Disappointing.
Unfortunately.
There should be a William Regal on every card.
I agree wholeheartedly.
All right. Here we go. We get the Divas tag team match and certainly happened.
It's a very Divas match.
Yes. And I feel super bad for Beth Phoenix during this match because she pretty much carries most of this. Maria gets it. Kelly and Eve start the match. Eventually, I forget, there's one point where Eve twerks and goes for the moonsault. And then Maria kicks Eve out of the ring. Maria's getting the heat segment here. She's getting beaten up. Her selling is not very good here. It looks like somebody that's been in the ring for the first time ever.
Well, so the commentary brought up that Maria, I guess, like broke a rib or something.
Mm-hmm.
I guess she was on Dancing with the Stars. So she like broke her rib and also broke her foot. So I didn't know if she was still like reeling from those injuries, because I mean, you watch the match. I mean, she did nothing. I mean, she just kind of sat there and then did the little thing at the end, but she didn't really take any bumps at all. So it seemed like they were being very ginger with him or her throughout the entire match.
Yeah. And eventually Maria crawls towards the corner after Maria kicks Eve out of the ring. It's listed the later portions of the match. Maria is crawling like incredibly slowly. Like it is like
hurt.
It's like Triple H crawling to the cover on Booker T from WrestleMania 19.
Yes.
4 minutes later. It's the SpongeBob meme.
4 minutes later.
And then Kelly gets the hot tag, head scissors to Beth. Kelly hits a neck breaker on Beth. This is actually a pretty decent hot tag. Kelly had some good offense here. She shown like she really progressed over the last few years. She hits a Molly go round on Beth.
Like that. Yeah.
That was really good. Eve broke it up. She's into the turnbuckle again. Beth goes for the glam slam. Kelly counters it into some weird looking bulldog. Mm-hmm. This is actually a bulldog this time, not the bulldog on a Randy Orton's DDT. But we get Maria tagged in. She heads up top. Beth hits her with a right. Then she presses Maria in the air. Beth Phoenix doing only what she can do. Kelly pulls Maria off. They push Beth into Eve on the apron, and Maria executes a really good roll up on Beth for the win at 6 minutes and 22 seconds. This match was purely filler to get divas on the card.
Yeah, can't have a title match. That'd be insane. You gotta have your celebrities. Which actually, by the way, speaking of titles, it was funny that Beth and Eve came out together with Eve's music, even though Beth is the champion. So that shows you how much they value the title at this point.
Oh yeah, it was. I don't even know what version of that. I remember the one. I think she had like some song called "She Looks Good to Me" or something like that. Eve did, except it's like some like super poppy version of this.
Oh, it's a banger. You guys sit there and tell me it's not a good song?
I don't know. I thought the original was the better song than this one.
She looks good to me. No, I'm a big fan of the upbeat, boy band version of it.
Well, it's okay, but for this match, I'm going to give it a D plus. Not great, but I watching Kelly's growth actually here. That was one of the most impressive parts. And hats off to Beth here because she carried the match
for sure,
and honestly deserved better than this spot.
I have a question, and this is going to determine my grade or not. Do we think that Maria Menounos pooped her pants in this match?
I saw it though. I saw something there. There was a mark on her butt. I was sitting there. I'm like, okay. I'm not going to judge. But I'm like, I see something here. I think she crapped her pants possibly.
I mean, I was trying to think of what else could it be? Is it like the mat dirty or something? Because
did makeup get on her pants or something?
You know what? That might be. It could have been like foundation. You know, somebody was doing like some sort of move or something. That might have been because it wasn't like super sensual, so it might not have been.
Who knows? But yeah, it did look like she pooped her pants.
So if she shit her pants, then I give it a D plus. If not, a D minus.
Okay. Well, the poop didn't. I don't think it was a poopy, so I'm gonna go with the D minus.
Then. Well, I guess a D minus.
D minus. Then we get HBK with Matt Stryker backstage talking about the conflicting emotions coming up in this end of an era Hell in a Cell, which turned out to be not an end of an era really, but something's coming to an end tonight. He holds the power in the palm of his hands, and then we get Justin Roberts announcing that attendance. And JR is brought out to do commentary, and JR is rocking a goatee here.
Love it.
Rocking the goatee. And then Cole, he's at the broadcast booth, and he's just like, do I want to shake his hand or not? Mm. And then Cole reluctantly shakes his hand and pretty much welcomes him to the broadcast booth. And here we go. We got the end of an era Hell in a Cell match. And before we get into this, really, did you notice something weird about this WrestleMania? There was hardly any video packages.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, looking at it, not a lot of the matches had like storylines to them. I mean, I guess like some of them did. I guess like Cody and Big Show did. But like, yeah, it was interesting, especially because there's not that many matches on this card. Yeah. Did this match had a video package though, right?
No, not that I know of.
Did it not? I'm trying to remember.
I don't remember having it because they just like cut from the HBK interview straight to the entrances.
Yeah, actually, now that you mention it, I don't think there was.
And this one could have really used a video package to it too. Even though a lot of people, like if you're not a loyal fan at that point, you don't have a clue what's going on. You know Triple H and Undertaker, but you don't know the history of this whole entire situation because There's layers to it. There was HBK involved, him losing at WrestleMania 25 and 26, ending his career. And then we got Triple H and Taker from 17. Then the year before at 27, where he Taker didn't walk out on his own, and then leading up to this.
Yeah, they like quickly alluded to that kind of stuff. But like you said, there's so many layers. I mean, Shawn has had Hell in a Cell matches against both these guys. And you got like DX, you got their rivalry with Shawn and Triple H, and you obviously got the Hell in a Cell and all that rivalry with Shawn and Taker. But I think commentary did a pretty good job at laying it out throughout the match. So I wasn't too bummed about that.
No, I wasn't either. I just noticed that on this show. I was like, I don't remember it because WWE's usually they love the video packages.
Well, they had to save time for Brodus Clay.
There was that's another subject we'll get to here in a few minutes, because that irked me a little bit. At first, the first time I watched that didn't bother me, but now looking back on it, it's like that could have given another match time, actually.
Yeah.
Instead of not this one, but the other one.
We could have seen Maria Menounos get beat up for a little bit longer.
Yeah, we could have seen Cody get squashed even worse.
Yeah.
Or we could have added time to Daniel Bryan and Sheamus.
Oh, that's ridiculous. That's just crazy talk.
Yeah, we can't have two good wrestlers just have a match here. But here we go. Let's lay this out. Triple H versus The Undertaker with Shawn Michaels as special guest referee. Hell in a Cell, end of an era. And we get HBK out first as the special guest official. And Triple H, not very often do we see this, but he's rocking the chest hair for this one.
Was he?
Yes.
I thought maybe that's what was. Something seemed off. Maybe that was what it was.
Triple H he was also extra tan.
Well, yeah, that goes. Yeah.
Triple H was
pretty tan though.
He's extra tan for this one, but
a little longer in the oven this time.
But we have Taker come out. Takes his typical 5 minutes to get down to the ring. He's got to milk it all for what it is, of course. He's Undertaker, of course. He's rocking. And then he reveals, he pulls the hood up. He reveals he's rocking the buzz cut, like almost like a mohawk in a way. Not the one that we saw at WrestleMania 30, but just a hint for later on that he'd have the rock the shorter hair for the future. And then we get the big stare down before the cell drops. This one has a huge big fight feel, it feels like a big deal. We don't get a Hell in a Cell at WrestleMania. We haven't had a Hell in a Cell outside of Hell in a Cell in forever.
Well, there was the Saudi Arabia one. Was a crown jewel between Edge and Seth Rollins.
Oh yes, that one.
But other than that, yeah. Oh, actually, Taker and Shane McMahon too. It's very, very rare though. To your point. Yeah. By the way, I so miss the gray cell.
Yes. My goodness. God. I was like, okay, this cell looked good. This cell looked super good. But they look up at the cell, and then for some reason they decide to play Metallica as The Memory Remains as it lowers. I did not understand that, because I was like that was a bit unnecessary.
It was a little cheesy, but I was like, whatever.
But you know what? The cheese pretty much stopped there, because this was probably one of the most brutal Hell in a Cell matches in the past decade. This was pushing the TV PG envelope.
You know what's interesting though? I don't think they used the cell at all in this match.
They did at the beginning for a while.
Yeah, maybe a little bit, but it was mainly just I don't know, not metaphorical, symbolic, I guess.
Yeah, it was just caging them two inside of there. They have to settle the score. One of them comes out of there, not unscathed. One of them comes out of there with their career pretty much intact. Mm-hmm. Well, if they survive, that's pretty much it. But early on, we do get some cell work at the because Taker sends Triple H to the outside early on. He sends him headfirst in the ring steps. He throws Taker headfirst into the cell. The steps get involved quite a bit here. At least at one point, Triple H gets his head busted open a little bit. We actually see a little bit of color in this.
Blood and a Hell in a Cell match? That's just crazy talk.
Oh my gosh. What is this? Are we in 1999 now, or 2004 or whatever? But they at one point Taker gets head first put in the cell, he whips Triple H in cell, backdrops him onto the floor, chokes Triple H on the apron, pushes HBK out of the way at one point. HBK is in a bad spot this entire match. Then Triple H gets thrown into the cell again, dropped onto the steps once again. He whips Triple H shoulder first into the steps. Complete control by Taker at this point. Triple H does mount a little bit of a comeback. He hits that face buster and takes him down with a clothesline. And then Taker goes for old school, hits it. And then he sends Triple H back to the outside, grabs the ring steps and drills. This is when I think Triple H gets popped open, is he gets just drilled in the face with the steps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, really good intensity in this match, like all throughout.
Yeah, this felt like a Hell in a Cell match.
Yeah.
It felt like this, okay, because these days with the feuds we see, Hell in a Cell doesn't fit. Mm-hmm. Typically, unless it's Edge at Rollins, it makes sense. Mm-hmm. But that's one of the few times it's actually made sense in the past decade, because they've decided to stick with this Hell in a Cell gimmick pay-per-view during this. But Taker does grab the steps, puts him in the ring, hits an apron leg drop, slams Taker's head in the steps, does Triple H after hits a DDT. He sets up for the pedigree on the steps. Big backdrop off the steps. Not a spot we see very often. Liked it a lot. Mm-hmm. Taker, he's undefeated, like you said. Like we already know here at this point, 19-0. Taker with the right, slams Triple H in the steps. Eventually I noticed the cut on Triple H's eye. But Triple H goes under the ring and grabs a couple of steel chairs. This is where the game changes here, both figuratively and literally. Mm-hmm. Chair shot to the gut, chair shot to the back of Taker, and he just lays in. These aren't like light chair shots. He's laying in these. He's getting his shit in. Dude,
yeah. I mean, we were kind of talking about it earlier, like with the intensity of this match. Like you felt like these guys hated each other, or at least that like they wanted to destroy each other. And like with these chair shots by Triple H and a little later by Undertaker, these guys they were laying it in. They knew they were at WrestleMania. They knew what this stage was. End of an era, all that shit. So, loved it.
Yeah, and then you see like right after that, the chair's freaking bent by that point. And you see just a bunch of bruising already on Taker's back. And Triple H, he says this multiple times during the match. You want it done, you end it. Because he's
Shawn Michaels.
He's telling Shawn but Shawn's instant, just cover him.
Dude, Shawn Michaels was perfect. Just his placement as the ref, with his history between the two guys and how he was used in the match. I forgot how like prominent of a part that he played in this match, but I thought that was amazing.
Like without him, this match doesn't go the way it goes. It doesn't become the classic that it is. But 100%. Then Taker says, "Don't stop it." Triple H just keeps yelling at him to stay down, and continues to lay into him with the chairs. And he's still begging Triple H to stop it. He's going to end it one way or another. And he said, HBK's like, "Okay, I'm going to ring the bell here." And he's trying to pretty much screw Taker off. Taker waves him off. Then Triple H grabs a sledgehammer, drills him for a near fall, hits him in the spine. Triple H gets the sledgehammer taken away from him by HBK. He's getting ready to call for the bell again. Shawn is. Taker then locks in the Hell's Gate. And then Taker gets dropped with the sledgehammer on his head as HBK's getting choked out. Mm-hmm. And then Triple H raises the sledgehammer once again, and then gets the kick in the dingus. Eats the kick in the dingus as Triple H grabs the sledgehammer, loses it, grabs again, passes out. As I think he locked in Hell's Gate here too. Yeah, he did.
Yep.
Then we get the MVP running off the ramp official, Charles Robinson out to the ring.
Big pop for Charles.
The greatest run to the ring I've ever seen in my life. WrestleMania 24, Edge, Taker. It's probably on you. There's probably music. Somebody's probably edited it with music behind it.
Oh, I guarantee.
Playing like the Titanic theme song. You're here.
If nobody's done that yet, I'm going to right after we get finished with this.
Charles Robinson running out to the ring. Taker does choke slam Triple H, but on the cover, Robinson counts only 2. And then Taker's like, F this guy. I'm going to choke. He goozles him, choke slams him out of frustration. We hear some, this is awesome chants. It makes perfect sense in this situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He goes for the tombstone. Triple H counters. And here comes probably one of the most epic sequences you'll see in professional wrestling as Triple H counters the not sweet chin music, but the tombstone pile driver. He pushes him into HBK, sweet chin music. And then Triple H follows it up with the pedigree, and Taker kicks out at the literal last second.
Dude.
And then Shawn just sits in the corner shocked, and he knows he kind of screwed up here.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like, oh, that didn't end it.
Insane. Best false finish ever. Right there.
Because you actually, that's a time, Triple H coming in this match, you don't really believe he's going to win. It's like, he's not going to be the one to break the streak, but for a brief moment, you were like, oh my God, this is over.
Well, that's the beauty of wrestling. Like, you can always oh yeah, of course this guy's gonna win. But if you can get sucked in for that split second, and that's what the case here was.
Yeah, one of the best false finishes you'll ever see. Mm-hmm. And then we get Shawn trying to stop Hunter from using the sledgehammer again. Shawn gets pushed to the outside. Taker with a big flurry, clothesline in the corner. Snake Eyes followed by a big boot, hits the leg drop. Taker hits the tombstone on Hunter. Hunter then kicks out the last second. Nobody kicks out of the tombstone hardly ever. And he cleanly kicked out of the tombstone, because that doesn't the one I think Edge kicked out of was I think the official was running down I think it was Robinson running down to the ring there. Yeah. But we get both men down. They're trading headbutts. Not the best idea here.
Might as well.
We're CTE, guys. Let's go.
It's hard. We're already loaded up with CTE. Might as well just.
I've already taken a lot of chair shots to the head at this point. But they trade some rights. Taker off the ropes. There more rights. Taker goes for a tombstone. Triple H counters and hits the second pedigree. And then Taker with another false finish as Taker kicks out again. HBK is just like, what do I do, man?
Yeah. This is the part of the match where it's like, okay, how's this going to end?
This is a lot of false finishes here in a short amount of time. Taker, he covers. And after he hits not HBK, but Triple H with just a ton of chair shots, it's payback for earlier. Because
these fucking chair shots.
He these. I thought Triple H's were bad, and I was watching Taker's. I'm like, dude, he laid in so hard. Triple H's chair was bent. This one was the top of the chair was like this, bent over, and
that's a receipt for you.
That couldn't have felt good at all. But Shawn's begging Taker to stop using the chair. Triple H grabs the sledgehammer again and picks himself up in the corner. He tries to use the hammer, takes it from him, and then Triple H pushes Taker, DX chop. You say something, Kyle?
No, I was just doing that. No.
No. We get the DX chop, arrogance, just like HBK did to Undertaker at WrestleMania 26, where he did the throat slash before he got Tombstone. Triple H does one last act of defiance. Taker hits him with a big sledgehammer shot to his head, and then he lowers the straps, throat slash, Tombstone, game over, 1, 2, 3. Taker is 20-0 at 30 minutes and 47 seconds.
Whew.
Not the only 30-minute match we'll get that tonight.
Yeah, I'm surprised actually it was only 30 minutes. I've seen a lot of Triple H matches that go a lot longer than this and were a lot worse. But that being said, I mean, if there's an A+, I mean, it's got to be this one. Just great. I mean, I said, the intensity felt organic throughout the entire thing. You could really feel the emotion between all three people involved in this match. The history that's built in, the
story told too.
Yeah, with Shawn having sympathy for both guys. How Triple H is trying to avenge his loss from the last year. How Shawn's oh, is he gonna make the count on the guy that ended his career. Like there's so many layers to it that were just built in organically, and the way it was executed with all the false finishes and the storytelling and the pacing of it. I mean, it was just perfect, and the crowd reaction was amazing. So I loved watching this match over again.
It was fantastic. It was a good mixture of professional wrestling professional wrestling mixed in with the sports entertainment drama aspect of it as well.
Yeah.
And so, and I love this match too. I gave it an A+ because the storytelling, everything was great. You can't really say a whole lot else though. That Sweet Chin Music pedigree spot has been played multiple times since then, because that's the one moment you believe the streak is over. And I think, and some people, I feel like this match gets unnecessary hate too sometimes.
Why is that? What do people say about it?
I think it's the over dramatic, like Shawn being overly dramatic at certain points of the match and such.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. I don't know. This is not. I don't know. There's a few people. It's very few people that hate this match, but I think that's one of the reasons why. But I don't know.
Yeah,
I love this match.
I mean, it's like if you're a kind of fan who's like very like, oh, I want to see a bunch of different moves, and I want to see like chain wrestling reversals and aerial moves and all that shit. Like, I guess, but like to me, if there's emotion involved, no matter what it is, like that's what matters. That's what wrestling is, and this match had that.
It made you feel something.
Yes, that's
that's the whole point of professional wrestling. You want to be entertained.
Stone Cold and Rock just punched each other and kicked each other for 40 minutes, and it was amazing because there was emotion. So.
And it was just that. And I just wish here they would have left the memories alone. It didn't do this match again in Australia years later.
Isn't it crazy that like these guys aren't like old? I mean, they're old, but they're not like past, their expiration date here. But they're definitely like in the twilight of their careers. And it's crazy that they would have a rematch like, what was it, 7 years later or something like that, 6 or 7 years later.
Yeah, I think it was about 6 or 7 years. Yeah.
Even with Shawn coming back and wrestling a legit match with Kane. Oh, yeah.
And then Triple H tearing his pec about 2 seconds into the match.
Kane's mask coming off. Sean's bald. It's a mess.
Sean about dropped on his head.
When we're in a spot where Undertaker is the one saving grace, we're in a bad position.
That's not good because he wasn't in the best shape at that point either. But here he was. It was in prime form, A+ grade, and they had a great moment on the top of the ramp, which was fantastic as well.
And that was like one thing. Sorry to cut you off.
You're good.
One thing I noticed about the show is that every match had its opportunity to breathe afterwards. Even like the lower, like the Divas match, the Intercontinental title match, there was like time after the match for like you're able to like soak in like the victory, and it's not just like match like it is sometimes nowadays.
I noticed that too because there was a long break between this match and the next match coming up because we get a Hall of Fame video with Ron Simmons included. Ron Simmons is getting inducted along with Mil Mascaras, who doesn't have the greatest history in the world. Four Horsemen, Yokozuna. I think Four Horsemen at this time, Ric Flair was working for TNA.
Yes.
That was one of those. I remember that situation. He had to get permission to do the Hall of Fame here.
And they did like the trade. Like Christian appeared on a TNA pay-per-view and did a promo or something, and then in return, WWE got Ric Flair.
I think it was Slammiversary that year.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, they did just had him pretty much appear on the ramp, and that was literally it.
Yeah.
But Yokozuna was getting inducted, Mike Tyson, and then Edge. Crazy to think 10 years later he's back wrestling at a really high level.
Yeah, it was weird seeing just short hair Edge, like fresh off his retirement. So you can see like how like bummed he is to not be a part of the show.
Like once his music hitting, he's just like super emotional too.
Yeah, but like you said, crazy to where we are 10 years later.
And we get then the Fink announcing class of 2012, RIP Fink. Josh Matthews, he gets interrupted by Heath Slater of all people. And it's supposed to be Flow Ride at this point. Slater calls him Florida. Okay, I actually enjoyed this segment somewhat.
No, you didn't.
I did a little.
You continue, but there was one aspect of it that I enjoyed.
Slater, I enjoy Slater for the most part.
Yeah,
but he wants to do a duet with Florida, as he likes to call him. But the Flo Rida says, nope, no duet. DJ, nope, not even a backup dancer. And Flo Rida says he can hold his mic. Mm-hmm. And then Flo Rida pushes him into the wall. And then we get weird appearances by Tyler Rex and Kurt Hawkins right after that. I'm like, I didn't even know they were both working for the company at this point.
Yeah, Tyler Rex is now a woman, by the way, which is good for him or them.
Mm-hmm. And then we get Team Johnny, David Otunga, who is a Chris Masters ripoff. Mm-hmm. Dolph Ziggler, Drew McIntyre, Jack Swagger, Mark Henry, and The Miz, with Brie Bella doing the ring announcement, which was absolutely awful. John Laurinaitis and Vicky Guerrero ringside with Team Teddy in a tag team match, the Teddy Long Special. Booker T, Kofi Kingston on Team SmackDown along with R-Truth, Santino Marella, The Great Khali, and Zack Ryder. Then we got Oksana here with Eve Torres, Hornswoggle as the the cheerleader pretty much, mm-hmm. and Nikki Bella and Teddy Long also there at ringside.
What a cast of characters! I mean, if you just get, I'm looking at the names involved. It's just, let's just get. This is like before they had a battle royal as the participation trophy. So this is kind of like serves the purpose of, let's get everybody that we can on the card.
But there was actually stakes to this match, as the winning GM gets to run both SmackDown and Raw at this point. Yeah. And Santino is the team captain of SmackDown. Yeah. And then I think, who was the team captain of Raw? I think it was Otunga. They gave Otunga the team captain because, he was Laurinaitis' little bitch pretty much.
What'd you think of Otunga's shirt?
Oh, what was it? Because it was like a super weird cutoff, wasn't it?
Dude, it was like as thin as you could get under the.
It was like spaghetti, like pretty much, wasn't it?
It was like a spaghetti strap, but like everywhere.
Oh my gosh! And because they couldn't do anything better with David Otunga at this point, pretty much, and they just eventually ends up on commentary, which he wasn't very good at, by the way. But honestly, I'm not going to talk too much about this match because it's a bunch of people just trying to get their stuff in at this point. And Booker T takes most of the heat segment here. Eventually he fights his way out, kick to the face of Miz. Henry hits a world's strongest slam. Then Khali, it's where everything just breaks down. Big chop to the head by Khali, double flapjack by Swagger and McIntyre. 2 drop kicks by Kofi and Truth. Ziggler taken out to the outside. Ryder is the fan favorite in this match. He gets thrown. Yeah. He gets thrown out of the ring. He throws Ziggler out of the ring. Hornswoggle dives on Henry. Then Henry throws him away. He just like flings him like a sack of potatoes here.
That was hilarious.
Yeah, I felt bad for Hornswoggle. He got thrown with no regard. And then they all get a tope con hellos. Ryder, Truth, and Kingston take everyone out. Then for some reason we get Oksana and Vicky going at it. Bella Twin's there to break it up. Santino's on the apron. He's ready for the hot tag. Well, him and Ryder were probably the fan favorites in this one. Santino hits the hip toss, diving headbutt. He goes for the Cobra. Johnny Laurinaitis, not Johnny Drip on the apron with a distraction. Miz goes for the attack. Santino ducks, Cobra strike to Miz. Ziggler then was late on the breakup.
No, it's 2.99.
It was 3. It was
the crowd really.
It was a 3. It should have been a 3 count really there, but Ryder gets tagged in. He hits a crazy monkey flip on Ziggler, where Ziggler, he does a full, not just he just doesn't go 180. He has a full rotation to do a belly flop.
That was crazy.
Then he hits a neck breaker on Miz, goes for the Rough Rider. Really cool spot where Miz throws him into Ziggler, who he hits it on. Ziggler's selling is underrated. Miz charges Ryder in the corner. Ryder gets the knees up. Even the rate. This is where nothing makes sense here. He just pops up in the ring as Ryder's getting ready to do the broski boot, and they do the woo woo woo, and Miz then it causes a distraction because Eve gets told to get out of the ring, and then Miz that gives him the window to hit the skull crushing finale. Game over. Team win for Johnny. Team Johnny wins. Begins the reign of terror for John Laurinaitis on Raw. 10:32. is the match time. And gosh, this was certainly interesting.
Interesting is a word. Yeah, I mean,
This was there.
I mean, the Axana Vicky Guerrero cat fight was hot.
Cougar action here.
Yeah, I mean, back in the day, we got Stephanie McMahon and Trish Stratus doing that at WrestleMania 17. Now we got Axana and Vicky Guerrero, and with Hornswoggles there, it's weird. You got like the Bellas on each, like facing each other on different teams. And Eve, like you said, it was a really weird situation. Like, why is she in the ring? It felt really clunky. And like, wasn't she a heel earlier? And now she's with Zack.
No, it was the relationship. So remember Zack Ryder with Eve. Then John Cena gets caught making out with her. And that just sends Ryder into spiral or whatever mode. And then Kane eventually pushes Ryder off the freaking entrance ramp, wheelchair and everything. Ryder's having a bad few months. I never understood this burial of Ryder.
Yeah, he was still red hot though. I mean, we got that hot tag. The crowd was with him. It was fun to watch.
Who would have thought? Now, just before we finish off and give grades for this match, who would have thought 10 years later Ryder would be the biggest indie star around right now?
Oh God, yeah, he's such a different presentation now. Just funny. I mean, just looking at the name, like we have WrestleMania main eventers in this match, like with Miz from the previous year, Drew McIntyre, who else? I mean, Booker T was in a world title match. Jack Swagger is in a few years.
He was in the next year. He was in a title match next year.
Yeah, I mean, even Mark Henry becomes world champion. Great
Kofi
was world champion. Kofi Mania, like it's so much like star power in this match, and what feels like a throwaway.
Yeah, it's so weird to think about this match in hindsight. Yeah. But I gave it a C grade. It's like I said, it's just a bunch of people there to get a paycheck and get their stuff in, and it served. I'll say it served its purpose as a cool down from the Hell in a Cell match.
Yeah, no, for sure, and yeah, with I thought the ending stretch was kind of fun with Zack Ryder's hot tag and almost beating, getting almost who do you almost beat? Jack Swagger, and Dolph Ziggler was late and all that stuff, and the cat fight was just ridiculous. I give it a C plus just because it was kind of dumb entertainment.
And then we get the least shocking thing to happen of the night. Eve comes into the ring to check on Ryder as Team Raw celebrates on the ramp. Ryder's just visibly frustrated. And then we get Eve kicking him in the nuts.
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought, man? That was fans were so shocked when that happened. Oh, man. Eve being a heel?
She looks bad to me. Am I right?
Yeah, man. She's a hoskie, as they were saying at WrestleMania.
Oh, no. I forgot about that.
I think they were chanting Daniel Bryan during this match at one point.
It might have been they definitely were during the Divas match.
Yes, they were. I forgot to say that earlier. They were chanting Daniel Bryan. I'm like, what is that about?
Hey, yikes.
Yeah. And then there's more yikes here coming up, but that's here in a moment. We get A-Rod and Tori Wilson shown ringside. They were dating at the time. Tori Wilson, man, has quite the dating record.
Yeah, so does A-Rod.
Yeah, that's for sure. He dated J-Lo at one time too. And then we get shown WrestleMania access, and here's the yikes part: the Be a Star campaign.
Oh yeah,
yeah, that's not one of the better. Because I remember reading Justin Roberts' book, and that was not one of the things highlighted on there.
Right. Well, my yikes from this access thing. I don't know if you call it. It was very quick, but some guy, I guess, proposed to his girlfriend. Like at the autograph table with CM Punk. Like literally, he just leans over, like CM Punk's there. He's like,
oh, okay, we're getting married.
Punk's like, hey, we got a proposal over here. This is so funny, but whatever.
Yeah, and we get
yes.
Then we get Punk with Johnny Ace backstage. Johnny says he wants a wrestling match, not a brawl, because of Jericho's comments towards Punk recently. So he puts the stipulation in place as he begins his first new role. He puts stipulation that Punk can't get DQ'd or he'll lose the WWE Championship here. CM Punk versus Chris Jericho for the WWE Championship. And this is as CM Punk's in the midst of his 434-day reign with the WWE title. I actually have an episode on that reign you can find in the archives. I talk about each match from the reign and how he was kind of not treated as a main eventer during this stretch.
Right. Yeah, I remember that. It was an interesting time.
And we get Jericho with the light up jacket. We get the video package, which was an interesting spot for the video package because they showed it after Jericho's entrance. Not normally do we see that. And so Jericho's music's just sitting there playing for God knows how long as they're playing this video package, as Jericho brings up Punk's past, well, his father's alcohol issues, sister's substance abuse issues, and then parents' wedding that took place after his birth date. So he's a legal definition of a bastard. So Jericho was never really the man, like he said he was. That's Punk. That's what Punk was saying. Mm-hmm. So he calls out Jericho's exploits on Dancing with the Stars. And then they kind of go back and forth on who's the best in the world, pretty much. Jericho was the one that first coined the phrase, the best in the world at what I do, as when he was that kind of, what was that movie called? Javier Bardem played it. It was like No Country for Old Men. That he was kind of playing this psychopath from that because he's talked very slow at that point. But Jericho at this point, he was doing that weird thing. I think when he came back, he did that thing where he just like all excited and never said anything.
Right. Yeah. This is a weird period for Jericho because this is a time where he really just came back to lose to people. Like, I think there was even a storyline like at SummerSlam or whatever. It was like him and Dolph Ziggler, and Dolph's like, you haven't won a match since your return. And Jericho kind of left soon after that. So kind of uneventful period in his career. But
this match was pretty dang good. This was honestly the best professional wrestling match of the night by a wide margin, I think.
I really, really enjoyed this match. Way more than I remember it being. Like, it was way better than I thought it was, because it gets stuck in between end of an era and once in a lifetime. So naturally, it's going to kind of get swept under the rug a little bit. But this match was fantastic.
It was very good, and I felt like the crowd didn't give it the respect that it should have gotten.
Not in the beginning. No, I think eventually they did.
They got the crowd on their side. So I remember watching this match. I think the first time I watched it, I was like, I thought that was pretty good when I first watched it when it happened. So I was like, I thought it was pretty good. I didn't think it was like great, but then watching it back now, it's like, this was actually really, really, really good. But we get amateur wrestling to start. That's always gets a thumbs up for me.
Yep.
Jericho hits the punches, gets punched in the back of the head. Jericho gets hit with the kitchen sink. And Jericho just tries to piss him off beyond belief here, slaps him in the face. And then Punk just loses it in the corner, stomping him. And then Scott Armstrong, he has to pull him off. Then Jericho continues to slap him once again. He does it two more times, I think. Beats him down in the corner. Ref eventually gets to a 4 count before Punk gets pulled off again. And Jericho's shouting at Punk, "How's your father?" Needed Jericho in the corner, but Punk's just trying to keep his cool here, which is a good little storytelling element because Jericho knows if he can get him to lose it completely, he'll get disqualified and he'll win the title automatically.
Yeah.
So we eventually get outside of the ring after a scoop slam and an elbow drop attempt that Jericho rolls outside. Punk dives and hits Jericho outside of the ring, and then Jericho says, "How's your sister?" Well, just like that. It was some weird. That was one thing. Jericho's acting was a little weird in this.
It was strange. I do love that element of the match, though, in the beginning, where Jericho's not really doing any offense. He's just exploiting that new stipulation to try to get Punk to get himself disqualified. So
yeah. And then Punk grabs a chair, wants to swing it at Jericho, and Jericho's begging him to hit him in the head.
Sticking his head out, yeah.
Which is not WWE approved at that point. That is definitely off limits. He restrains, and then moments later hits a second rope. Then Jericho actually hits a second rope drop kick on him. So this is where Jericho takes advantage, and Jericho hits almost like a jackhammer to the outside.
Yeah, that was brutal.
From
the apron.
You don't ever see that. That's one thing. That's a spot you don't ever. I've not seen that probably since then. But that's just a rough spot. It looks like a rough spot to take.
It's teased a lot, like, oh, he's going to suplex him to the outside, but it never happens. But they did it here.
That's for sure. Well, it's like that. At least it's not like the Kurt Angle teases the German to the outside.
Yeah. And then Big Show's pregnant.
Then we get a Jericho back in the ring with a double underhook backbreaker, which that's an underrated move of his. I think
it's a classic.
I love the double underhook backbreaker. Then so it's a lot of back work. The focus is on the back here of Punk. Punk eventually mounts a comeback, hits a leg lariat, clothesline, and a neck breaker for a near fall. Hits the high knee in the corner. Jericho counters the Bulldog, goes for a lion salt. Punk counters briefly. It's a really good sequence here. Then Jericho tries to grab the walls. Punk powers out. Then Jericho gets hit with a roundhouse. And this match is like flying by at this point. Like I didn't realize how deep we were already into the match by this point, because this match goes 20 minutes. And Punk then goes for a scoop slam. He heads up top, goes for the elbow, but Jericho gets his knees up. Then Jericho hits the code breaker, but Punk rolls out to the floor. And then he gets him back in the ring. Punk gets charged, gets hit. He hits Jericho with the GTS, but Jericho, having the ring awareness, gets his foot on the bottom rope. And eventually Punk goes for a suplex. Jericho suplexes Punk stomach first into the ropes. And then beautiful lion salt by Jericho, gets a near fall. He's got the advantage at this point. Punk goes for a Frankensteiner as Jericho heads to the second rope. He counters. There was a beautiful counter here. So as Punk is trying to flip over for the Frankensteiner, Jericho catches his legs and locks in the walls from there. And that was probably one of the best counters of the match.
Yeah, drops down from the second rope. It's always like, that always makes my butthole pucker up a little bit. Like, you're like an inch or two off. That's paralysis. But
yeah, he's about to get dropped on his head.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. And then we get Punk does get to the rope off the walls attempts. Punk knees Jericho in the head, knees Jericho's head into the ring post. Actually, drives. Yeah. And that was the high knee into the ring post. Ooh.
Yeah, because it's like the classic one he does in the corner, the running high knee from Punk, but he did it against the ring post, which looked pretty sick.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. And but Punk then springboards back into the ring, gets caught with the code breaker, and Punk does kick out at the last second there. Jericho's talking about he's about the best in the world. They then trade counters. Jericho with shots to the back of the head and back of Punk. Jericho heads up top. Roundhouse to the side of Jericho. Punk then grabs for the fireman's carry. He's going for the GTS from the second rope here. But Jericho counters and puts in a lion tamer this time. It's just not the walls. This is a lion tamer with the knee in the back of the head. Eventually, he does transfer into the walls, and he's in no man's land at this point. Punk's right in the middle of the ring. He gets dragged back. Then there's an inside cradle exchange by both. Punk, which then Punk then transitions into an anaconda vice. Jericho rolls up Punk for a near fall, and then Punk reapplies the anaconda vice. Jericho's fighting out, looking for the walls again. Then Punk with kicks to Jericho's head as he's trying to apply the walls. Punk then gets the vice. Jericho is kneeing Punk from the bottom position, which is a really smart move. But then Punk, he repositions it. He puts Jericho's elbow up higher and kind of repositions his hips so Jericho can't knee him. Jericho then has no choice but to tap at 22 minutes and 23 seconds. And what a match. What a professional wrestling match this was on this show.
Yeah. Like I said, I mean, this match, I did not realize how good this match was the first time I watched it. It is so great. Even like the last Walls of Jericho, it was like there was like such urgency with it, because it was like, wow, Punk's already gotten to the ropes once. He countered another one. Now he's got the lion tamer on. It's like, there's no way Punk is getting out of this. And so there's like a really good drama there, but Punk is able to counter out. The anaconda vice, the little added touch of Punk adjusting his hips and to avoid getting kneed from the bottom. And then you have that like, oh shit moment from Jericho. Like the crowd was with it too. They knew they were noticing what was happening, and that all added to it. So it was just anybody listening, I definitely recommend watch this match over again without the added context of the other matches on this show, because this is one of the better matches I've seen from either of these guys.
Yeah, it's really good. And I think they followed it up with a pretty good Chicago street fight the next month at Extreme Rules.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
not as good. I don't think it was good as this one, though.
Right. Yeah. You got to think these guys, they probably both have chips on their shoulders, knowing that this is the WWE title match and that's not the main event. So, but that added to it, I suppose. And yeah, great stuff.
I'm going to give it an A grade. I like the story they told Punk early on with, like, he's trying to keep his cool, psychology with Punk's back. And I just enjoyed the finishing sequence was really good. The crowd wasn't into it as much until the end of it, but they got the crowd by the end of it. But I just thought it was just a really good match, and I gave it an A. That's
another element of it. Like, the crowd didn't want to like it. Like, the crowd was ready for Cena and Rock at this point. So the crowd was like prepared to shit on it, but they got them with just pure like how great the match was. So yeah, I give it an A as well.
And then we move on and we get a video showing, it's next year's WrestleMania happening at MetLife Stadium, WrestleMania 29. And then we get shown the pilots that flew the F-15s. Then for some reason we get the greatest segment in WrestleMania history. Funkasaurus. Somebody call my mama.
Yeah. God, I forgot about this.
Ernest the Cat Miller used that during his WWE run in 02, 03, that kind of era. Because I think he was in the 03 Rumble.
He was, unfortunately.
Ernest the Cat Miller.
What a treat.
Yes. Oh, didn't he say he was eat your ass like a thing of collard greens at one point?
What?
I think he said that.
I believe you. I just have not heard of that.
I think he said it was a WCW like 2000 thing.
Okay. That's I'm unfamiliar with that.
I think he said I was gonna eat your ass like a pot of collard greens.
Is that like a threat?
I guess.
I mean, that would make me not want to fight somebody.
It was one of the not so smart lines. It was not. I don't know if it was Sid level of I have half the brain that you do, but
I think something Sid would say.
Definitely. But we get the Funkasaurus Brodus Clay with Naomi and Cameron here for a little dance break before the main event. Not like we needed anything else before the main event here, as everyone was already on edge, ready for the main event here.
Dude, what the hell was the point? We have literally a music performance already. So like, why do we need this as well?
I didn't know. So he tells everyone, call your mamas, pretty much. And he calls his own mama, and Mama Clay's here. And then she's brought out with the big prosthetic booty.
Wait, you're telling me that was a fake ass?
Yes, that's a fake ass.
I will not believe that. That's just blasphemy in my eyes.
And then there's a whole bunch of mamas out there afterward.
The Club.
Yep. And then somebody called my mama because they kept dancing and dancing for another 2 or 3 minutes. And then we finally get the end of it. It's like, okay, we're finally here for the main event. All right, here we go.
Ready for some wrestling now.
Ready for some wrestling again. This show's already long as it is. Actually, this is one of the last few 4-hour WrestleManias instead of the marathons we got after 30?
Yeah.
After 30, it was the beginning of the marathon WrestleManias where it was 5, 6, then 35. My God. 7-hour WrestleMania. That was.
No, I'm a big fan of a 1-night 4-hour WrestleMania.
I don't mind the 2-day idea with the 3 hours each, but I'd rather just do one night with all of it. But
no, I agree.
It's a decent idea, but like you said, I agree with what your thoughts are. It's 1 night WrestleMania, 4 hours. That's enough for everybody. Mm-hmm. Now we get the big video package for this once in a lifetime match. That's the tagline for this whole entire WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm.
Once in a lifetime.
Isn't it funny that both taglines, end of an era and once in a lifetime, were just lies?
Pretty much, they were just marketing ploys.
Yeah.
That's WWE, one big marketing ploy. Oh, the greatest wrestling match ever.
Is it? I guess because he told me it is.
Yeah, it is, and they told like this year they tell you that Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns is the biggest main event in WrestleMania history or something. Mm-hmm. That's their tagline to it. I'm like, I don't buy it, guys.
Yeah.
Because if you're a smart enough fan, that you'll realize, oh, wait a minute. Let's look at the other main events that happened in WrestleMania history.
Yeah.
Okay. We've got Hogan Warrior. We've got Hogan Andre. We've got Austin Rock twice.
Yeah, just calling anything the best ever before it happens is one of the stupidest fucking things I've ever heard in my life.
I hate WWE. That like WWE does great marketing, but their taglines for some of these things, it's like, what are you doing? You are literally setting yourselves up for failure here. Like with how bad, it's not going to live up to the expectations you're setting for it.
Well, I think one thing you're forgetting is that this upcoming WrestleMania is the most stupendous 2-night WrestleMania of all time. So, clearly, it's going to be the greatest main event.
This is only the third time they do a 2-night.
We don't need to bring details into the
history. History doesn't matter to WWE.
Facts are boring to me. Okay?
Long-term storytelling doesn't make a difference. We only remember what happens here, and it's happened recently, and we think Roman Reigns is God.
He is. He's in God mode.
He is God. He's in God mode. I'll give him credit for that. The dynamic's a little bit different, but I just don't want to see a Brock Roman main event again.
Yeah, it'll be fun for what it is, I suppose. But yeah, for me, WrestleMania, I like WrestleMania to be like the first time we've seen this match kind of thing. But,
not a third time.
Yeah, but like you said, the dynamic's different. So
that's the only thing that's the only redeeming quality about it. And the story's been pretty good from what I don't watch the weekly programming for WWE.
I don't really either these days.
Yeah, it's very hard to watch. I literally, before we really get into this match, just one more little side tangent. The only reason I've literally turned on the last 15 minutes of Raw recently just to see if Cody shows up. Yeah. That's the only reason I've turned it on for the last 15 minutes. Like, all right, well, I'm just going to see if this happens here this week. Because other than that, I have not watched a full episode of Raw in probably a year and a half.
See, the thing is, I've heard Raw has been pretty good, but even when it's good, it's 3 hours, and a lot things don't matter. Like things will happen, and then we just forget about it a month later. So there's no reason to keep up with anything.
And we get constant rematches too.
Yeah, so it's if I don't catch it this week, I'll catch it next week.
It's gonna happen again. It'll happen again.
Yeah.
And then I did one thing about Raw. I've watched Raw for the 15 minutes I watched Raw. I can't stand commentary.
Yeah, it's just I don't like the 3-man dynamic.
I don't like. Personally. Well, I think his name's Jimmy Smith on there. Jimmy Smith, Corey Graves, and Byron Saxton all together. I don't like Jimmy. The way Jimmy Smith does play-by-play, it's a lot of oh.
I like his noises.
I do, but I'm like, can he call the moves?
It's a big oh.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. What's a big oh?
Yeah, if you're blind watching this, you have no idea what's going on.
That was the one thing I was like, I tweeted this out recently. I was like, underrated part of wrestling, calling the moves.
Yeah, who would have thought?
Who would have thought calling the moves would have been an important part of that? Because I noticed that very little in the Seth Rollins. Who was he facing? AJ Styles this week.
Big move.
Big move.
What impact?
Right. Yeah, what impact? What a maneuver or something like that.
Classic.
Yes. But here we go. We get the big video package for this once in a lifetime matchup. And tonight We Are Young was playing by Fun, which just makes me feel old now.
Yeah, it really dated itself.
Yes. We get a bunch of different stars and legends giving their takes on this match. Who needs to win more? Different people answer the question. And then we get pictures from each person's childhood building up to this moment. And I don't think the best stuff was even shown for this video package because they had a really good back and forth for this year-long storyline.
Yeah, there was no dialogue. It was just music and imagery. So there wasn't any of the back and forth shown, which, there was a lot of promos. So I get you don't want to consolidate all of it and just have a bunch of talking for your video package. But, it was fine, I think.
But then we get Sean Diddy Combs. Here comes the concert, baby.
To a bunch of boos, by the way.
Yeah, he was not very welcomed there in Miami.
Nobody likes P. Diddy.
Nope. He brings out MGK, which is not a very, very popular guy either at this point. And then, well, it's Miami. And he gets Skylar Gray, and they play Invincible for Cena. And it's pretty much a mini concert. Then MGK describes Cena as an underdog. Cena is the underdog. No, he's the New York Yankees, as Punk describes a year before at this point. And fans aren't buying it. Then we get Flo Rida singing Good Feeling and Wild Ones. So we get the whole spectacle as this match gets ready to happen with dancers and the whole shebang. And this one, it feels like the Super Bowl pretty much. We're getting like a Super Bowl pregame show before the match.
I would tell you this. I remembered this that this happened, the music performance. I was fully prepared to fast forward through it. But I was like, you know what, let me give it a second. And then I don't know. I sunk into it. I was like, oh, okay, I kind of dig that because I forgot MGK was for Cena, Flo Rida was for The Rock, and it was kind of fun for what it was. And it kind of built up to the match, and it made it feel like a big spectacle. So,
I felt like that's why I think that was the reason why they did that. But in WWE, like if you think about it now, like this match, the build up to this match, they have not done a full year to a build, like a full year build to a match since then.
No, yeah. I mean, with all the injuries that happened and people getting released and all that stuff, it's hard to do that. But amazingly, they were able to follow through with it in this case.
Yeah, and I don't think they've been able to create something as big as this since then. They haven't been able to create magic like this since then because I watched this. I'm like, they have not been able to do this since 2012.
Yeah, the only option today would be Rock and Roman if that were to happen.
And that's like the last option they have left because they don't have enough stars in that situation.
No, they'll bring Goldberg back.
Oh, please, for the love of God, no. I didn't need to see that elimination chamber. That was miserable.
One last ride by Goldberg.
One last ride. Okay. Then we get the collar elbow to start. This crowd is hot for this.
Dude, the pop just from the bell ringing was... Dude, I'm gonna be honest, dude. I had fucking goosebumps watching. I'm coming into this cold, just like... I've seen it before, and I kind of know what the buildup was, but I kind of, just kind of coming into this randomly. But I was like, man, this is hype. I like this.
I'm like, goodness gracious. I haven't seen a crowd like this since then. Like Kofi was the closest thing. Probably Kofi and Daniel Bryan.
Yeah.
At that point, because this crowd is completely pro Rock. So Cena's playing the heel in the winner, the opposing team's home stadium, pretty much. And it's a power struggle at the beginning. Rock gets thrown across the ring, then Cena throws Rock across the ring, and Cole points out on commentary, it's been 9 years since The Rock has been in a singles match. You know his last singles match? Goldberg.
That match stinks, by the way. I don't know if you've seen that recently.
I think I owned the DVD at one point. It was not very good.
No, it's not.
Well, it was Goldberg can't have a 15-minute match.
No. They would have a better match today, I bet.
I can imagine. And then early on, we get a roll up for a near fall. We're already... Like I already made note that the crowd was just off the charts for this one. Rock hits a shoulder block. Cena hits a hip toss. Moments later, after he pops Cena with a right, he goes for a sharpshooter. Then Cena cowers out to the outside. Cena then spears Rock into the corner once he gets back into the ring, drives his shoulder into the Rock's gut couple times, working the midsection of the Rock. Cena then grabs a bear hug from the ground. Rock gets out. Right hands, charges Cena and drops him down. Actually, Cena drops down and sends Rock out of the ring over the top rope. Rib first on the barricade, so Cena's in complete control here. Rock does mount a small comeback, gets caught in the bear hug, and he eventually fights out, hits the DDT for a near fall, and hits the jumping clothesline, spine buster. He's ready. It's people's elbows. How can he hit him like this? I don't know.
Yeah.
Hit him with the double elbows. Cena then goes for the STF. He counters, back up on their feet. Cena getting ready for the 5 moves of doom.
Oh, yeah.
Shoulder blocks, then the spinning back suplex, the 5-knuckle sexual shuffle.
Was it sexual?
I don't know. Well, that's definitely a sexual thing.
I mean, anything could be a sexual shuffle if you really want it to be.
5-knuckle shuffle.
Cena then shuffle.
Yeah, I can't believe he's never changed the name to that move, because that is just.
I still don't know what it means, really. I mean, I guess it's shuffle. You're shuffling your shoulders. I don't
know. We get an exchange of right hands, but Rock goes for one big right, and Cena counters. He does the little taunt. He's doing the "you can't see me" taunt. Cena counters, hits the AA out of nowhere for a close near fall. Cena gets Rock up. Then he hits a rock bottom out of nowhere for a near fall. What I liked, one thing I want to point out, one thing I liked about how this match was laid out, the finishers, once they did hit those beginning finishers, they spread them out till later.
Yeah.
They didn't go, it was like the middle of the match, and then they went back to him later. Cena does hit a sidewalk slam. Not seen that from him hardly ever.
Sixth move.
Yep. He hits the top rope famouser, which it looked horrible. Like Rock's neck looked like he got crunched.
Oh yeah, like horrible, like at a bat. Yeah. He laid it in.
Yeah, he did, because normally he just like barely grazes their head with his leg. No, his legs were fully on Rock's back and neck.
No, this is like if you were in a street fight with somebody, like for real, and you wanted to do a famouser on somebody, like that's what it would look like.
Oh man, it was nasty. And then Cena lines up for another AA. Rock counters. He takes Cena down and semi-locks in the sharpshooter. Rock's sharpshooter, it's like a half sharpshooter.
Yeah, it's a dull shooter.
And then Rock after Cena gets to the rope, he gets the ground and pound. And then he gets the sharpshooter back in again. And Cena then once again gets the ropes. And then we get Rock laying Cena across the apron. That hits the back and neck a couple of times. Both men are on the outside. Rock throws Cena into the ring steps. We get the action back in the ring. Cena hits a really nice sunset flip over the ropes and slaps on the STF in the middle of the ring. Drags Rock back to the center. And he's fading Mike Chioda, the official, the only person that could officiate this main event.
Mm-hmm.
And then raises Rock's arm, drops it 1, 2, and then Rock, of course, keeps his hand up on the 3 count, claws his way to the rope, breaking the hold. And then Cena runs into a Samoan drop there. It's a double down. There's a couple later in the match. There's a lot of double downs here.
Mm-hmm.
And Rock goes for a rock bottom. Cena goes for an AA. Both are countered. Rock then hits the spine buster, finally hits the people's elbow, but Cena somehow kicks out of that people's elbow. Man, it's a big elbow drop, man. It's Hogan's leg practically.
Yeah, and he beat Hogan with it a few years ago. He beat Austin with it, but not John Cena, not Super Cena.
No, not Cena. And then we get an inside cradle for a 2 count by Cena, then double leg, slingshots Rock into the top turnbuckle, roll up for a 2 count, and then Cena drags Rock up to his feet, drives him up into the corner, sets him up on the top turnbuckle. I thought he was going to go for an AA here, but he's going for a superplex, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And fights back, knocks Cena down, hits a diving cross body. But Cena rolls through. Dude's just freak of nature, strength-wise.
Made it look easy.
Yeah, made it look really easy. I knew as soon as that Rock was on the top turnbuckle, I remembered that spot specifically from the match. That's one spot sticks out because I'm like, okay, I saw Rock on top rope. Okay, he's going to hit the crossbody, and now Cena's going to roll through and catch him and pick him up for the AA. He does and hits it a second time. Rock kicks out again. Rock's just feeling that hometown magic. It's giving him another gear here.
The electricity.
And the most electrify. Oh my God. Electrify.
Short circuiting over there.
Yeah, I'm short circuiting. Electrifying. Oh my God. I can't even say electrify. I'm done. Electrifying. I don't know. I can't even. Retire. Time to retire here. This podcast is over after this episode. Just kidding. But Cena then looks for the 5-knuckle shuffle again, but he's like, what would be better? Add some insult to injury. I'm going to go for the people's elbow. He takes off his armband that's really actually a headband. He hits the ropes 1 time, hits it the second time, but Rock gets up and hits a second rock bottom to catch Cena. 1, 2, 3, game over. Rock wins 30-35. It's had a long match, but man, the crowd explodes after Rock gets the win.
Oh, they loved it.
They,
a hometown boy. So
hometown boy, the U. You got to represent the U.
Yeah, represent.
But Cena, after the match, I love the way he sells it afterward. He's just like despondent on the ramp. He's like, I had him.
Yep.
I had him and I got greedy.
Yep.
I got greedy. And I thought this match, so to give it like a kind of a comparison. So like Hogan Rock, that environment made the match.
Mm-hmm.
The environment here made the match as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the context of it all. Like, again, like if you just watched it on mute, you might be like, okay, this is a fine match. But if you turn the volume on and you just hear the energy from the crowd, you understand that this has been building for a year. And I mean, the expectations for this match were off the charts. I mean, like I said, building for a year, two of the biggest stars in wrestling, a legit dream match. They could have easily have like been like, oh, this is an underwhelming match. But in my opinion, I think it lived up to all the expectations.
Oh, no, it was what it should have been. And it was a spectacle. And the match was really good. Like, Cena gets a lot of flack. Cena gets a crap ton of flack for his matches. But, dude, when he gets in a big match situation, he delivers every freaking time.
Dude, yeah. This is another match. I don't remember this being as good as it was. But it was, even outside of, like, all the finisher spamming towards the end, you had some fun, like, chain wrestling in the beginning. Like, Rock did the whole, like, he has arm in an arm wrench, and then he does, like, rolls and does the kip up, and then does, like, a maestro cradle. Like, he's doing some legit wrestling out there, and Cena's like, well, what the hell? So they had that with, like, you know, the aerial stuff, like the leg drop from Cena, the crossbody from The Rock. They were pulling out a lot of stops, and I thought everything was built well, like, over the course of the year and throughout the night, leading to this. It was just a perfect storm.
It was perfect. Yeah, it was about as good as you can get. I'm not going to give it quite an A+, but it's dang near an A+. Like, just with everything involved, I give it an A grade, especially with the environment involved. It just elevated this match to the next level.
Yeah, for sure. I'll give it an A. Yeah, A, because I don't think it's quite as good as the Hell in a Cell match, but I'll give it an A. It was very good.
But we got 3 really good wrestling matches on this show.
Dude, it was like, I mean, like the only things really worth rewatching from this show, but those 3 matches were some of the best WrestleMania matches of all time, like legitimately.
Like, it's like to get 2, I'm going to say 2 all-timers in there with this one and Taker Triple H. The Punk and Jericho match is kind of a hidden gem of a match because nobody really talks about it, but it is really, really good for what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. And each match kind of had its own. You had like the brutality of the Hell in a Cell. You had like the pure wrestling of the WWE title match, and then you just had like the spectacle of the main event. So,
and that's you described that perfectly. You couldn't have described that any better than I would have, because that was kind of where I was going with it as well with those 3 matches. I gave this I graded this overall, and I gave this whole WrestleMania a B+.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Even like I'm looking through the card, like the 12-man match, like a lot of the other matches were kind of short. So even if they were bad, they weren't like, they didn't overstay their welcome kind of thing. I would have liked to see Daniel Bryan versus Sheamus have a legit match. But otherwise, I think a B is pretty fair for the card in general. Yeah,
it's a 3-match card. That's literally it. You can literally skip everything else on the show and watch just watch those 3 matches for what they are.
I mean, that's 2 hours worth of the show. Those 3 matches. So
was it 60 minutes for the first 60 minutes for Triple H, Taker, and this one? That's 60 minutes, and then about an hour 20 minutes of just wrestling for those 3 matches.
I mean, if you count the entrances and the video packages and the aftermath, easily hour and a half.
But man, this was a really fun show, though. Really fun show. And definitely recommend going out and watching those 3 matches: Punk, Jericho, Triple H, Taker, and then Rock and Cena in the main event. 3 really good WrestleMania matches that you really should watch during this WrestleMania season.
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah, and I'm so glad that you had me on to cover this show, because generally when I'm like, oh, I want to watch some retro stuff, like I'll go back to the Attitude Era or I'll go back to like early 2000s stuff. I don't really go and back and watch a lot of stuff from this era, like the early 2010s. But I was pleasantly surprised, and I was glad I was able to watch, because like I said, I forgot how good some of these matches were, and I was glad to rewatch them.
And I'm glad to glad you could come on here, because I really appreciate it. And it was a lot of fun talking with you about this show, because it doesn't get, I don't think this show gets talked about as often as it probably should, but for the matches that it had on it, of course. And as we wrap things up here on the show, Kyle, give a little description of your podcast. Tell them what's your focus on your podcast, really.
Yes. So the Apron Bump Podcast, I cover retro wrestling. So if you like the Sig Daddy show, you'll enjoy my show as well. But I cover various promotions, big and small, across 4 different decades. So I'll cover Attitude Era WWF, but I'll also talk about TNA shows, Ring of Honor shows, Progress shows, the Monday Night Wars, all that stuff. So I have different types of shows that I cover. But it keeps me interested because it's like something new every week. So apronbump.com for all my full episodes, wherever you listen, YouTube, all that stuff.
Definitely go check him out. The Apron Bump Podcast. Kyle, thank you so much for joining me on the show today once again.
Thank you for having me. It's been a blast.
It's been a ton of fun here. And you can find Sig Daddy's Wrestling Show on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook and Twitter at Sig Daddy Wrestle, on Instagram at sigdaddy.wrestle, as well as TikTok, Sig Daddy Wrestle. And then you can find it wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, the iHeartRadio app, wherever you get your podcasts. And then next time will be WrestleMania 22 review. Looking back at that with the Stranger Rings podcast. And then the last episode this month for the Retro WrestleMania reviews will be WrestleMania 8. Looking back at the one WrestleMania that took place in Indianapolis, Indiana. It'll be me and J.O. doing that review later on this month. Once again, Kyle, appreciate you coming on the show. Look forward to coming on the show next month, doing those classic Ring of Honor 2003, looking back at those shows.
Yeah, different kind of spectacle, but it'll be a spectacle nonetheless. Looking forward to it.
Looking forward to it. Thank you again.
Thank you.
And then, brain fart there for a second. I'm trying to close out the show. Oh my gosh. But okay. So for Kyle, I'm Skylar Sig Daddy Sigmund, saying so long, everybody.
Call your mama.